everyone. My name is Sue, and we are going to be doing a all-level yoga class here. All levels means it's all level. And Matt is going to be here to model some of the poses that he will be doing. But more importantly, with every suggestion I make, you should probably listen to your body and not to Matt's body. But if something doesn't resonate with you, something doesn't make sense, it's always, an option to look up and see what the pose is that I have suggested. But know that if you look up, Matt might actually be not doing the pose I suggested because he doesn't feel it was right for his body at the time. So you can kind of tune into the philosophy already that we are going to be adhering to for just an incredibly short time. This is a 30-minute class, and I will try to keep it within 30 minutes. So without further ado, let's start in child pose. Which means that you're on your knees and you're sending your hips back towards your heels. And Matt is extending his arms towards the front of his mat, but you may feel, in lieu of what you're feeling, of what you've gone through, and everyone has been going through a lot of stuff here over these past few days. No one's been immune to it, so sometimes just rolling up into a little ball and dropping to the ground makes a heck of a lot of sense. Feeling the weight of your head succumb to gravity and just letting the back of your neck lengthen as your head drops towards the ground. And just pulling yourself away from all of the stuff going on out there and bringing yourself back to that place of power and calmness. And you rarely hear those two words put together in a sentence, power and calmness. Usually they're at opposite poles. But just think of how calm we can be during some times in our life, that can be very powerful. Even though it seems so incredibly simple, it's those really simple things that really are powerful and potent. Another thing that you can practice here is just taking some deep breaths. Deep, full, rich breaths, so that every breath you take goes right down into the dark recesses of your lungs. Pulling in some space. Nice. And kind of giving yourself something to distract yourself with. Because you don't breathe this deep normally, so the challenge for you is to focus on it. Instead of all the other stuff going on out there, you have to focus on what's going on in there. Some would call that meditation. I am choosing to pay attention to something going on without judging it for a little bit of time. So we're going to start to add some movements onto what you have now discovered, that you can steer your awareness to a place of your own choosing. Right? You might see, well, that's pretty easy. Well, maybe in child pose, that's why it's called child pose, because it's an easier pose. an easier time in our life, you know, before things got a little more complicated. And you look back on this point in your life very fondly. So let's just start adding some movements and integrating them onto this state of mind, this calmness, because that's what breathing deep does as well. As you focus, you also calm. So reach your hands forward. If you haven't already, reach them towards the top of your mat. Tuck the toes behind you and start moving your hips up towards the ceiling for the very first pose that's very active. Like you have to be a little more active in this pose because you use your arm muscles to dig into the ground, your hands, your finger pads. You start to press your heels towards the ground behind you, not to try to stretch the most or do the most. I mean, doing the most might be why we feel so stiff and tight sometimes, because we're always trying to do the most and be the most. How about just be gentle as you start this pose? Be moderate, but be breathing deep. Last big inhale here, tailbone slopes up to the sky, and then come forward to an upper push-up. Just let your hips slide gently forward, and then drop your right knee to the ground underneath your right hip. Perfect. Let your left foot press flat against the ground at the back of your mat, and lift your left arm up to the sky. So you can tell it's kind of an easier pose than some of the modifications. If you have one of your own, if you feel you want to tap into that. But it's nice to start out with these gentler movements. It's nice to keep that deep breathing here as maybe you become more creative now with the pose. Even though it's simple, remember we can add some potency, add some life to it by opening up that left chest, by digging into that right hand, by pressing into the back foot, your left foot, by encouraging your chest to move away from your back foot towards the wall at the front of your mat. Last big inhale here, ready? Let's rotate. Put that left hand down. Come up on your left toes. Reach that right arm out like a wing to the right. And the left toes are on the ground. Nice. And then from here, take that right arm over to the right like a wing of a plane. Start to nudge your right shoulder blade toward your spine. And now see if you can rotate your right chest up towards the sky. Your right arm will come along for the ride. It's called a twist. So maybe your left heel moves more back towards the back wall, still left toes on the ground. Your heart moves forward towards the front wall. And then there's a sweet opening by using some muscles. Left hand strong as it digs into the ground. Last big inhale here, open. And let's rotate. Bring that right hand back down to the ground, and then lift that right arm straight overhead to the wall at the top of your mat, and lift the left leg behind you. Nice. So you can see the traction that can occur here, from your right fingertips to your left heel. You can see that action as you dig into that left arm more. And the few of you who want to add more, this is those that you're like, I want to challenge my focus. I'm feeling okay here. Then reach that left arm out in front of you as well. Reach both arms out in front of you. Right, it seems ridiculous. Some people are trying it. If you're at home, you know, maybe your cat's looking at you because you just fell on the floor. You made a huge crashing sound. Unless you have a very flat, right kneecap, then you might not. Last inhale, just lift the limbs that are in the air just a little bit higher, and then put them all down on the ground. And let's switch. Straighten the right leg out and press the right foot flat on the ground. Lift the right arm up to the sky. Activate the left arm muscles so you're not collapsing into your left shoulder. You got a lot of stuff in there in that left shoulder joint, so use muscles to make space. Last big inhale here, maybe glance up at that right hand, glance up at the sky if your neck allows. And then rotate. Put that right hand down. Come up on your right toes. Lift the left arm over your head. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. And then left arm up towards the sky as you twist. How about breathe deeply as you're twisting? Anytime in your life you have to reach back with your left hand to the back seat of the car, you take some deep breaths. Making space, creating some freedom. Last big inhale here, open. Exhale, put that left hand down on the ground, lift the right leg in the air, and then lift that left arm straight to the front wall at the top of your mat, away from the right heel. That's actually, you want to encourage it almost like you're doing a footprint with your right foot at the back wall behind you. Tuck your chin in, and just flirt with the height of the limbs that are in the air. If you want to add more of this to the balance, you can put the left hand down or reach the right and left arm over your head. Take one last big inhale, breathe. And then put everything down on the ground. Take your knees or toes back. It's called an upper push-up position or the plank pose. The plank pose. On an inhale, in plank, just breathe in. And on an exhale, lower right to the ground. Lower all the way down. Once you lay on the ground, release your toes behind you. Hug your elbows in. And on an inhale, lift your hands and chest away from the ground. Your head will come along for the ride here. So just start lifting using back muscles. And on an exhale, put your chest back down and put your hands back down. That's one. We're just going to do 3 more. Inhale, come up. That's number 2. Exhale, put your chin and hands down. Inhale, come up. That's 3. These are the muscles of your spine. Pay attention to warming them up. Chin back to the ground. And inhale, come up and stay up here. Right? Paying a little more attention because now you have time. Maybe you don't squeeze your butt so much. Maybe you let the feet stay resting on the ground from feet to hips, everything's down. And now you start to lift the sides of your mouth because it's just one more inhale and you're like, that's all the muscles on the back side of my spine. And then put your hands down, head down, tuck your toes back under, behind you. Do a push-up on your knees or toes. Ask your body what to do, and it'll know. And then hips high, head low, downward facing dog. Now, right about now, depending on how you've been feeling, you might be feeling like, that's enough. I wanted to do some yoga, but that's enough. Maybe I should just, because of what's been going on, I want to put my knees down and take a break. Then take that power back and go down onto your knees and take some deep breaths. You can add some modifications in down dog. You can stay here and maybe not jam to the most degree, but sometimes you start to press the heels down and you start to press the backs of the knees towards the wall behind you. And you're like, yeah, that actually feels good too. Dig into those hands. Let the head drop. Let the breath stay deep and free. Last big inhale here. If you're with us in down dog, just let the tailbone slope upward. Look forward to the top of your mat and arrive at the top by walking. Just walk your feet there. Nice. And once you get to the top of your mat, notice how excited you are. Here's a basic range of motion called, what's this, bending over? It's bending over, right? It's not how straight your knees are. It's not a straight knee contest. It's not a my nose is touching my shins contest. It's I'm trying to access this range of motion because I want to have it for the rest of my life. So it's nice to go to the moderate degree right now. Maybe the knees bend more than you think. I would ask your knees. I would ask your back. If your back is rounded, like Matt's here, and if I was in this pose, mine would be too, then you engage your core. You have muscles that surround the front of your spine. Engage them a lot. And feel them support the back as you bend. Breath deep and free. Bring those arms out like wings. Come halfway up with an inhale. That's using those muscles in the spine. And obvious, the leg muscles, because now I'm balancing on my 2 feet and legs. So use those muscles in your legs to root down like a tree, rooting down into the ground. Find a nice exhale as you root down even more, but keep that spine long. And on a big inhale, stand all the way up with your spine. Reach with your limbs, your arms up towards the sky. Maybe your eyeballs glance up. And the few of you out there who feel it's appropriate, you can even lean back a little bit, using some of those snake or cobra muscles we used earlier. And on an exhale, fold back towards the ground. Let it go. Halfway lift with an inhale. Hands to the earth, high push-up to low push-up. As you exhale, now I say low push-up. Remember cobra? If you just want to go right to the ground, come up into cobra that we did 4 times. We'll just do it once. Or up dog, knees off the ground. And then add a push-up if you feel so inclined, or skip it and go right to downward facing dog pose. Hands wide, maybe shoulder distance apart, fingers wide as they come out of your knuckles. Press the finger pads, drop the heels down. And notice the breath spilling so deep and free right now. I'm more active, I'm doing more, but I'm not reacting to my actions. I'm still trying to maintain my yoga practice. Take a big inhale here. We're going to move on. Over and exhale, arrive at the top of your mat, walk or float there. Halfway lift with an inhale, and on an exhale, fold. So you're like, been here, done that, don't you have any more? Well, how about this? With your breathing to help you navigate, keep the deep breathing, start lifting up your right leg. Just start lifting it up, and then as soon as you want to worry about how high, worry that you stopped breathing, or worry that you just thought about how high versus that your breath should be still deep and free. Nice. From here, you can walk up that left leg or bring your arms out like wings. Breathe. Arms out like airplane wings. Right, now start lifting your chest and arms. Hug the muscles of your left leg, and don't worry about falling. Worry about breathing. This is like I'm going through something tumultuous in my life, and I'm deciding to find my center instead of letting go of my center. Last big inhale here. Ready? Stand up on that left leg and swoop that right leg in front of you and hug that right knee into your chest. But breathe very deeply. No matter what's happening, begin again if you lost it. And some of you know what I mean by losing it. Just come back to your deep breathing here. This is your yoga practice. Just like you have a golf game practice, you have a tennis practice, you practice your scales if you're a musician, you practice your art. This is the art of calmness in storms. Breathe. From here, wrap your hand bones around your waist, but keep that right knee the height that it is. Breathe. Keeping that right knee where it is in outer space. Start lifting up your hands up to the sky. Like from that left foot pressing, you're trying to reach your fingers as high as you can. And then start to straighten that right knee until your right leg says that's enough, which is probably not that far away. Take one last big inhale here, lift something, and now swoop that right leg behind you, arms out like wings. Take a big inhale here, and on an exhale, hands and head go down towards the ground, right leg still lifting. Take a big inhale, exhale, right foot right next to left foot. Halfway lift with an inhale, and exhale, fold. Big inhale, stand up, reach up, stretch back. If your body says it feels right, and then stop as soon as it says that's okay. On an exhale, fold until your whole back side gives you a sign to say, that's okay right there, stop. Halfway lift with an inhale. Exhale, fold as you start lifting up your left leg. Oh, yay. I get to practice the other side. You know, we're flying through this pretty quickly, right? So maybe you're kind of getting it. You're like, what is this that I'm practicing? How high I can lift my limbs around, how much I can do, or how calm I can be while hearing some suggestions for someone that's walking around not doing anything. That would be me. Right? Ask your body, it's the one doing this. Start crawling up that right leg with your hands or arms out like wings. So I gave you 2 modifications. If you have one of your own, then do one of your own. What you want is to start lifting your chest and arms and left leg. How about this? Lengthen your left leg away from your heart. That's lengthening forward. Lengthen your deep breathing. Take one last big inhale here. Ready? Now stand up on your right leg. Hug the left knee in. I call this pose the closet pose. If ever you're stuck in a closet, let's say someone just closed the door and there's a latch on it and they locked it, you could actually still do some yoga poses. This would be one of them. Breathe. Deep breathing. All right, from here, wrap your hands around your waist. Keep that left knee where it is. And just start to feel the leverage, the weight of your left shin bone and left foot as you start to straighten your left knee. Not all the way. You're looking for the subtle sensation. Anything beyond that is way too much for our purposes here. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Right leg strong, balancing you. Your breath deep. Last big inhale here. Reach to the sky. Exhale, float your torso forward. Float that left leg back behind you. And on an inhale, lift the sides of your mouth because you just realized that was the last leg of the journey. Last big inhale here, and on an exhale, put your hands and head down. Left leg still up there, but not as high as possible. It's comfortable. And then step your left foot down next to your right foot. Halfway lift with an inhale, and on an exhale, fold. Stand all the way up. That's an inhale. And hands to heart center as you exhale. Nice. Inhale, sweep the arms high. Glance up if your neck says, that would be nice. And on an exhale, fold until your backside says, right there. It's so personal. Halfway lift with an inhale. Hands to the earth, high to low push-up, exhale. Inhale. You know the drill. Exhale, down dog pose. Drop your knees to the ground, gently, and swing your legs out in front of you. So you're sitting on your bum with your legs out in front of you. Now, sitting on the ground with your legs out in front of you, if you're one of those, I gotta have my knees straight, straight knees, or I'm not doing it, then maybe you're sitting on something so that your hips are higher. Do you want a blanket or a... He's not sure. I'm going to put it there. This is a great answer. Not sure. Let me use my experience as my teacher. Not just because someone suggests something. There's a lot of people suggesting a lot of things out there, right? You've got to pick and choose what makes sense by using your senses. Now bring both arms up to the sky. Reach way up there. That's my ribs coming out of my hips, reaching way up there. And then start to fold forward as if you're trying to rest your forehead very gently on your big toes. Which will only happen if you have very, very short legs and an extremely long torso. All we're doing is trying to accept the moment that we're in, and trying to take care of our calmness in the moment that we're in by using our deep breathing. On an inhale, sit back up, bend your knees, hug them in toward your chest, and then I want you to lay on your back, which means you might want to scooch forward so you have room behind you to lay down on the ground. And then keeping your feet on the ground with your knees bent. Let's do a little counter pose to what we just did. We just did a forward bend. A back bend can mean a supported bridge, which means you put some books or if you have a block at home underneath your hips, or you just go to bridge pose without a block. You just use the active muscles to start to bend back your spine. breathe. It's always nice to have these balances between the different poses that we go through in our life. Like there's, I want to be more active, and then I want to rest. I want to be doing a back forward bend all the time. Maybe over your projects you're always reading or working on the computer. So it's always nice to have an opportunity to take care of the counter poses, the back bending. All right, whatever pose you chose, let's bring the hips back to the ground. So if you chose active bridge or supported bridge, slowly bring your hips and spine back to the ground. And then hug your knees in towards your chest. And then a twist to one side. So let your arms come out like the letter T. Put your feet back down on the ground. And then just hop your hips like 1 inch over to the right and let your knees drop to the left. If you have any modification for this, like you want to intertwine your right leg over your left leg before you twist, or maybe you straighten that left leg out. Breathe. The best friend in this pose, in any pose, is that long, luxurious exhale. Slowly bring your knees up. Hug them in if you'd like. Nice lower back quadratus lumborum stretch. And then over to the other side. Hop the knees over to the left. Or not the knees, excuse me, your hips over to the left. Your knees go with gravity over to the right. Any modifications that make sense? Deep breathing. Maybe continue the twist as Matt did and look over your left shoulder so the neck gets a nice little twist. And a little time taking care of the spine in many ways that it moves. We just did back bend, forward bend, rotation, twisting. All right, bring the knees up. Hug the knees in. This is the last act. Hug the knees in towards your chest. Like an act of gratitude, just saying, thank you. I didn't have a lot of time today, but I'm glad I took this time. Squeeze everything you want to squeeze. Your face muscles, hand muscles, toe muscles. And then release it all to the ground for Shavasana. Final relaxation pose. That long ago we were in child pose. You might even feel right now that, that was such a short time ago, and here you are already in Shavasana. But you did a lot. Maybe this pose is dedicated to all that your body does to carry you on Mother Earth. now it's time to let it go. Now, if you have more time at home, the video will end. That doesn't mean you have to move at all. Maybe you stay and give yourself the luxury of more time to let go. That's the end of this one. Thank you. Namaste.